Hello, this is JayB and today we're going to talk about the Yamaha XG standard, an extension of the general MIDI standard that was introduced by Yamaha somewhere in the mid or early 90s and expands the general MIDI standard by more sounds, filters, effects, envelopes, everything, stuff like that. And it is pretty old, but as you may know, most of my synths are pretty old, but I can make them sound like they can still be used today. But since you can't really program these in all details, you have to rely on what's there and maybe alter it. Yeah, I wanted to show you how I use my Yamaha QY100, which I still have from my band times, which it was our drummer back then. And yeah, I still use it, but to make it sound more modern, we have to set a few things up here. So first thing we need to do are the effects. If you're lucky to have a device where you can edit everything on the surface, then you're good. Otherwise, you can use a program like XG Works or XG Edit to edit all this stuff via MIDI. The XG standard provides 3 effect slots, a reverb slot, a chorus slot, and a variation slot, where you can have all kinds of effects inside. And let's start with the reverb. The standard reverb you can hear now. It's pretty short poppy reverb. And trance especially is known to drench everything in effects. So I like to start with Hall 2 reverb. And in the settings you of course can set up everything here, like turn up the reverb time to 8 seconds. Diffusion is mainly the stereo spread, initial delay, and the high pass filter, since we're working with the long decay times, reverb times, we have to cut all the lows so it doesn't get too messy down there. And I'm not too shy here, I go by like 500, 600 Hertz. And also low pass filter, we can set a bit higher so it gets a bit more bright, like 6.3 kilohertz. So now the reverb sounds like this. Nice long reverb. Okay. Chorus is something I hardly use because it makes the sounds more cheesy than I want. So I use it lightly, and for that use I can use the default settings. More important are the variation effects, which I use for the delay. You can use these in 2 ways, either as an insertion effect for just one channel, or as a system effect, a send knob for all 16 channels that you have. And you've got several delay patches here, like the left and the right delay, the left-right delay, echo, and the cross delay. Cross delay is mainly ping pong. I'd love to use that, but you are very limited in delay times. Like this one, let's see what the maximum is, 355 milliseconds. This is okay for the stuff that I want to use now, because I want to have a dotted eighth note for delay. Long feedback, you can also set the high damp. That means with every repetition the highs get lower, which is quite nice to make it more like fading away. So if we turn this up now, does its job. We can also add the delay to the reverb chain, so the reverb gets even longer. And I think our effects are set now. So let's go into detail with the sounds. Of course, the XG standard offers a lot of bread and butter sounds, like the piano, which we can hear right now. And I sometimes use this, but you also got the Rhodes stuff and all the effects. But I don't want to talk about these too much, actually. I prefer to talk about the electronic stuff that you can find. And the first sounds that I'm going to use are based on the Synth Bass 1, patch 39. And we have, for example, the fast resonance bass here, which sounds by default like this. Which is nice for acid lines, you can even increase the resonance. but instead of increasing the resonance, you can also decrease it. And suddenly, you've got a simple but decent saw plug. And if you now add the reverb and the delay and a bit of chorus, this is actually something you can hear in the Candy 8 song that I released a few years ago, which I did only on the QY100. This is just a nice saw plug. And if you want to go on with that, you can add some release time to make it longer. And use the modulation wheel to add some vibrato. And this is all just based on a bass sound, which is actually pretty nice here. Another sound that I like to use here is the square bass, which is basically just the typical garage house bass. Which also has some resonance by default, but also here you can turn it down and get a simple square wave plug. And again, resonance. Not resonance, sorry, release time, reverb, delay, stuff like that, chorus a bit, and vibrato. And if you want to go the Island Bluestone way, then you just play it in octaves. This is bigger than love. There are plenty of more sounds within the synth bass area, which are not all available on all XG enabled devices. It all depends on which level of XG it does, which is mainly the more professional it is, the more sounds you got. Anyways, let's leave that area here and go to the string section. And I often like to use the stereo slow strings here. The stereo slow strings are the stuff that you can hear on the Tri-State album by Above and Beyond. It's basically a basic string patch. What you can do here is by increasing the resonance, you can add some brightness, increasing resonance, and also cut off frequency. Be a bit careful with that to not make it sound too resonancy. And again, reverb and delay. And then you get those massive tri-state chords that you know from the Above and Beyond album. Lovely. Okay, these synth strings are again something that doesn't make a super saw, of course. Some of the extended patches, this, for example, sounds rather pure. You can do the same thing here, which I did with all the other sounds. Add effects, add some brightness, add some vibrato, add even more effects. I use this more like background pads, not like full breakdown pads, but sometimes it can come in handy. What you definitely can hear in my productions is the mellow choir, which is basically a choir with some airy synth sound on top of it. And I usually use these again with some brightness on it, a bit of resonance, turned up cutoff frequency, lots of reverb, and you often hear these in breakdowns of uplifting tracks, like in the end before the beat actually drops. There is one last whoosh, one last 8 or 16 bars where you can hear a high choir, and this is exactly that sound. Pendula Jan remix, for example. Next thing that I want to talk about are the synth brass sounds, which is, well, greetings from the 80s. But there's a nice patch which is the analog brass 1, which sounds pretty basic now as well. With these sounds you can decrease the attack time, like the offset set to the minus area, because then it gets a really crisp attack. You can again increase the release time here, something like that. Decrease the resonance, add some vibrato, and drench it in effects, and then you can go like. Also excuse the wobbling here, the stand is not very stable. Okay, there are some more sounds in the synth brass area that sound a bit different but do the same purpose. Okay, let's leave that area. The elite sounds, everyone's favorite. Yeah, boring. Square wave 2 is if you just need a simple square wave. Can come in handy at times, but I'm not using it too much. What I'm using often within the square wave section is the sine lead, which is hidden there for some reason. Which is, like the name says, just a sine lead. You can use this for basses. I can use this also for like bass slides. If you increase the pitch bend control here. Let's go on here. The big lead. Again, something you need to tweak. As super sawy as it can get with the XG engine. Waspy synth, another synth that I used in a few MIDI files I did in the past. And something you need to lower the attack time. a plug sound that already has some light chorus on it. Yeah, something like that. One last sound I want to show you before we go to the drums, the popcorn sound. This is also something that you can hear quite often in my tracks, especially the complexer ones. This is basically just... well, the way you would expect a popcorn sound to sound. But if you play it short enough, it's just one of the two blobs, and this you can use for like, I can't play this right now because I have to sequence it, but those stuff here. Every time you hear those, it's usually the popcorn sound, but very shortly played, so you don't have the two separate square wave sounds. Okay, let's go over to something else, the drums. It's funny actually how Yamaha put some pretty good sounds in here without showcasing them off in the normal way. Like if you go to the Analog Kit 2, you've got those two kick drums, but they don't play the full sample by default. But if you go into the drum settings and increase the decay time, gets much more body. Same for this one. And it sounds pretty decent. And of course the dance kit. Why the dance kit? Because everyone needs 909 hi-hat and also 909 snare. The kicks are rather... So that's basically the way I use the XG engine. I hope you enjoyed this video in a way. And if you've got a PSR device, a PSR keyboard, or one of the QYs, or Yamaha MU, and you're doing trance like me or house music, then this may be an inspiration for you to use the device a bit more in detail without sounding too 90s, I hope. So yeah, thanks for watching. I'm out, and have a nice week.